Hey, Gutfoxx here. So, it's a sad video every year to make, but my content for MLB on YouTube, to my knowledge, is coming to a close for this year. Basically, what I'm going to do is end up still playing the game, right? I finished the event, got the dailies going through, so hopefully we can get McCutcheon here soon in, 6 days or so. But we're not going to make content on YouTube. I might stream it still if some cool stuff comes out, but I want to go through in this video because this is kind of like the end of this YouTube channel until next year. Obviously, Gutfoxx 1 and 2 will be uploading content for Madden, but I want to go through with the things I thought about 21 Diamond right away. Ooh, that's good for the pack opening. And what I want to see in 22 for MLB The Show. I think MLB 21 was one of the finest games I've ever played in my life. Sports games specifically. Um, you know, it was crazy what they've been able to do with content and absolutely like just blow our backs out with the weekly stuff that they brought. And obviously, on a week-to-week basis when we just got like headliners and stuff, player programs, touchdowns, kind of whatever. But the special drops they've had, the crazy summer that we've seen, the all-star content into the I actually enjoyed the Mookie second. I know a lot of people didn't. I like big hard things to do like that, and things to shoot for over like weeks in time. And obviously me, I've been preparing. Like some people like look at it and then go, I've been preparing for that set from the beginning of the year, and obviously I put money into the game, so it's not necessarily fair to compare me to people that have to like do it no money spent, or they choose to do it no money spent because it's more fun for them. But the content has been some of the finest things we've seen all year. Now, the downside of the content is when we get the live series, when we get these cards that are basically end game so early in the season, we're kind of stuck using them for a while. Otherwise, you're taking a Nerf bat straight to your team. So the variety of teams sometimes is a little stagnant, a little like we see that a lot with Edward Cabrera, with Jacob deGrom, the pitchers that have been kind of dominant. And since Edward Cabrera came out, we've seen a lot more outliers, especially outlier sinkers. We got in a couple of relievers, more than a couple actually. But it kind of like it escalates, right? New content has to escalate over that. But how can you escalate? Like, right? Like, we got Nolan Ryan now who's got his outlier, but is he as good as deGrom? I haven't faced Nolan Ryan myself online. Oh, no, I did face him in the event once, and I didn't do great. I think I won that game 1-0. But it is there, right? Like the early cards make it harder for MLB to wow us a little later into the season. So like I feel like because I'm wrapping up content for this year, it's really the peak, right? It's a few months into it, and it's just absolutely been amazing, right? I'll come back to this game, and like I said, I'm going to keep playing it all year, and just like have a team that's set. So that's like the positive thing is like when you step away from the game, your team is not like basically donezo. It's not overwritten. You're not so far behind that it takes a while to catch up. So that is one positive about MLB. The downside is the offline grind people have complained about. Offline, there wasn't a whole lot of things to do between some of the TAs and the most recent grind that we had. But whoops, sorry, quick flip them. So there's that negative, right? When it's easy to complete something, when it's easy to get it done, it doesn't really give a lot of people that are more like hardcore, absolutely like they love the offline grind, playing versus the CPU, anything to do, right? And there's a balance there. I loved this year's content. I didn't love 18, but like that was the ultimate everything to do offline. It wasn't crazy the amount you had to play the computer, and I hope they never go back to that. So I loved 21's content, even though there is the slight downside of not enough, because people hate Showdown. I didn't realize offline players hated Showdown as much as they did until I heard from them on it. We got a bunch of headliners. Let's do the Division Series rewards. Let's go into like gameplay itself, right? I think pitching. Let's do that. I think pitching is kind of overwhelming and overpowering. I wish there was a little bit more balance. I wish there was a reason to use the other pitching methods. If you're not using Pinpoint, you are playing a losing game, right? You're not going to be as good as the players you're playing against online. And people choose to do that, right? They choose batting cameras that are further away, much harder to see pitches and stuff at those batting cameras. And that's fine. People can choose the less effective method. But I like games that have like a little bit of balance. You can kind of like choose different things to do and just like, use them, right? And you're equally competitive. And so like Pinpoint, they brought it out and they said, oh, this is a super hard to do. It's going to be a high skill gap method. It ended up not really being that way. I really didn't see a whole lot of skill gap in Pinpoint at all. It felt with everybody, even silvers, right? I was in BR, silvers can dot you like prime Greg Maddux. There aren't really many mistakes unless you're playing somebody that's actually really not good at the game. I really haven't faced many bad pitchers this year, I'd say. You face way more bad hitters, so there's little skill gap in pitching, it feels like, and it's a little sad to see. So hopefully with Pinpoint, to balance it, make control matter more, make it harder based off the trace. I don't hate where it's at with being able to dot your pitches. If you 100% throw something perfectly, it should 100% go where it goes, right? It feels like there's a little bit too much fluctuation, and they did patch a little bit. It is better now than it was, say, a couple months ago, so they definitely heard our feedback on that, made the adjustment, which I absolutely do love of them for listening to that way. I guess I've bought all these things on the block. Let's take another Vogelbach, I guess. So, yeah, Pinpoint being a little easy to do, making everybody in a prime Greg Maddux, I think was kind of a frustration online. Oh wait, what's the more rare one? The second half is probably a little more rare, not really, but I think, and along that same lines with pitching on into hitting, I think hitting is in the best place in 21. We've seen it in a long time. Also, let's do this. I haven't done the evolutions. Justin Turner, and the other evolution is Joe Nathan. Almost caught me slipping. But 42 pack these things up to 14. These have been great investments every time they come out into the game. Let's just take who's always a good bet, whatever, Frank, and we'll sell him. But pennant race reward. That's the thing. Perfect input in pitching creates perfect output. Why don't we seem to have that same thing with hitting? I understand hitting is baseball, but we are playing on the competitive game of this game, right? The comp style. And so the comp style itself should be rewarding to people that have good inputs. But the fact that you can perfect out, I know it's only 15% of the time that happens. It is very frustrating to get beat by bloops in a comp game. Now, baseball is baseball, and I 100% believe it. But that's kind of the thing. If they can continue to work towards, and they've made strides since last year when perfect was 80%, it's 85. If they can get that up to 90, I think I love that. I'd love to see that progress. I'd love to see the PCI, if it's completely surrounded by the PCI, the ball could be struck well. If it's out of the PCI, it should be a foul ball or a pop-up. It's very easy to say. I'm sure it's hard on their end to execute because there's a million different possibilities between timing, spots on the field, 85 to 89 overall in our packs. Talking about packs right here, packs have not been great. Some of them obviously better than others, but late in the year, an 88 overall, the diamond pull is 5K. And the downside to so many generous packs is that the things that come out of them are super low. So on one hand, it's annoying that whatever you pull is really not going to be going for a lot. Wow, back-to-back diamonds. But on the other hand, it's kind of cool to get a lot of packs. So I much prefer this way over any other way because they're so generous with rewards. Like this, I didn't have to pay for any of this. This was all just rewards from me playing the game. So it's amazing what they've done with this stuff. And it's the reason why it's 5,000. I love their investments. I think the way they do live series is the best thing in video games for investments. When packs come out, flash sales are great. So that's all phenomenal, right? Content, like I talked about, all great. I wish they would make Legend at 1100 rating. I hate in ranked seasons that I only get to play 10 ranked seasons or slightly more than that, depending on how much you lose. Games an entire season. Hall of Fame is where I feel like this game plays best, especially at the teams that we have right now with high power. All-Star, because guys have 120 power, the ball just flies. It just flies too much All-Star. It's too easy to hit home runs. So All-Star for BR, I don't love it either. I wish that would move to Hall of Fame, but I can see why they go to All-Star to make guys that have 60 power a little bit more relevant. 80 power guys actually seem like boppers there. But I really do hope they can provide more opportunities for us for Hall of Fame game going forward into 22. I suggested earlier this year, I really hope they have a 3-inning Hall of Fame casual dad mode, right? Because my kid's asleep right now, but oftentimes, earlier when he was, next to me as a child, a month or two ago when he was a 2-month-old, I would have him next to me. If you got to watch the kids, if you got to go there, 3 innings is kind of perfect, right? 9 inning games take a little bit too long, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes more if they're being jerks up there, if they're bunt dancing, R2ing. I like that they got rid of R2 at like a competitive way, but I wish they just would have like got rid of R2 altogether. I just don't like the way R2 is kind of like interrupting the pitch, interrupting flow, because it's kind of toxic, right? I don't love toxic. I didn't even really look at these things. Which one's the coolest one? Genuine. I don't think it matters. I can just buy the ones that I didn't get. Ernie Banks. Sure, we'll take Banks. So yeah, get rid of the toxicity. Replaying home runs can be toxic too, but they've kept that in there. They kind of like it, I guess, from that side. Like if you want to replay a home run, just watch the replay, right? You can literally just bring it up in the pause menu. But there it is. Field of Dreams. We got a lot to go through. I'm not a big fan of dailies, but I know people hate them. Oof, not a good round for that. All these things are very cheap. Palmer is, I just know these things are really great. But Kansas, yeah, let's go ahead and take Palmer, Sig Series. That may be worth it down the road if they come out and do the big thing. But I really hope they don't turn MLB into a competitive game. I like the way they go right now. They can do like, small tournaments. Players can put on tournaments. But I really hope they don't focus on it. I not like the way Madden's moved in that direction. I don't think it's really brought anything positive to the game at all. They need to improve franchise. I mean, it's embarrassing, their franchise, when you compare it especially to out-of-park baseball, their PC competitor. Fielding urgency, first basemen get a ball, and then they take forever to throw home. That's so annoying. Fielding urgency. I think the field might be even, like, too small. I think guys accelerate too much. The field might be the right dimension, but I feel like acceleration in this game is messed up from fielders. Like, Byron Buxton go from 0 to 100 so fast. Servers, I maybe should have mentioned them first, but obviously they know about servers. Freeze glitches. I put out video. Probably my proudest moment this year was getting those freeze glitches solved, and SDS fixing them after my video. I know there's still ways of freeze glitching people. I still see the comments on a regular basis from people saying, "Oh, this happened to me." I don't know if it's intentionally being done anymore through different methods or just randomness online, because it just freezes sometimes on a regular cutscene. Contact hitters need to be relevant in 22. It's just embarrassing why Tony Gwynn. You don't see Tony Gwynn at all, right? One of the best things about one of the worst games. Well, no, 19. 19 is where like guys like Tony Gwynn. Where are the Padres at? Sorry. Where do we go? Gwynn. One of the best parts about that game was the fact that this guy was relevant, and you don't see this guy online, right? He doesn't have speed. He doesn't have power. Basically every good hit ball just like kind of like lazily hangs up and like flies at people. It's very frustrating. So make either some quirk or make them more contact, less power guys. Have some way of getting the ball through the infield better. Because if you don't provide power, if you don't have that, where like any single hit can turn into a run, it's tough to use like these table setters without that ability to pop it over the fence, without the ability to really drive it well into the gap. Because well driven balls are kind of like lazy pop flies. It feels like with these hitters, with how good fielders are. I'm okay with quirks generally. I'd like to see more into the quirks, like more in-depth kind of things. I want them to explain what quirks actually do on a per number basis. Like if they add, some people tested it, said it adds 6 contact for the minor quirks, 8 contact for the major quirks, and they just assume it does the same thing with power. They couldn't really test it that well. Headliners packs need to be better. I was not a fan of headliners this year. They were just not good, right? The cards that came out, Edwin Diaz, like he's solid, I think, 43K. But a lot of other cards that came out. Now he's a reliever that came out, 95s, 96s. They just weren't like that competitive, and I understand they don't want to make it like too crazy, but if they could increase the power level just slightly, just it only needs to be slightly on headliners. I think that would be neat to help balance out the game for the guys coming out of packs and the guys that we just grind TA3 for. So that's my idea video on what I want to see out of 22, what I thought about 21. Once again, a phenomenal game. We all need to, not just somebody, but everybody needs to protect SDS. We got to protect them. They're an absolute gem of a studio for how they've run this game this year. And so even though we've had issues, freeze-offs, 3/4 of my ranked series wins are from disconnects, losses, wins. I'm 48-4, and 3 of those 4 were because of disconnects. So hopefully next year that's better. Obviously, you always want that, but I thought SDS did a really good job this year generally overall, even with my complaints, even with my rage, and that's baseball. Thanks, guys. It's been a wonderful year. It truly has. I appreciate the support. Twitch, it was wild the support we got. Like one of my last streams on Twitch had 1,800 people in it for MLB The Show before my, about a month break. Love you guys. See you over there on Gutfoxx 1 and 2. Unless you hate football, then I'll see you in the spring. Peace, guys.